From Tally to Cali,
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up! Wake up! WarChant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
and this is Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's
Now here's WarChant.com's Aslan
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! It's Wake Up War Chant, presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Corey's here. Wake Up War Chant, part of the WarChant.com family. Use the promo code WarChant30 for 30 free days of access to the ultimate Seminole sports source. Students, email us, support at WarChant.com from your student email address at Florida State. You'll get a promo code for 12 months of access for only $12. We're going to call this like the Kool-Aid edition of the summer sort of slump, trying to broadcast the podcast on the regular, Corey. I got a lot of good nuggets. Everybody get your toothbrush, your mouthwash, because I'm gonna OD y'all on some Kool-Aid. Me, Corey, I'm the optimistic guy today. Are you ready to match my enthusiasm on this Monday?
I don't know about that, but I'm interested in the Kool-Aid, and it's not obviously a Jonestown situation. You're not trying to poison us to death with this ridiculous Kool-Aid.
Absolutely not. Would not.
By the way, how crazy is it that just like entered our for the people that don't know the saying or the phrase "I'm not going to drink the Kool-Aid" or "You're just drinking the Kool-Aid" goes back to one of the most horrific things that's ever happened in this country. Now I know it didn't happen in this country; it happened in like French Guiana, but the cult leader Jim Jones, I think, like 900 people in a mass suicide/homicide. And it wasn't even Kool-Aid, by the way. It was like Flavor Aid. But somehow Kool-Aid, it became don't drink the Kool-Aid. And then Kool-Aid, like I've never had Flavor Aid in my life. But Kool-Aid is still selling off the shelves. It's just bizarre. Anyway, that's a weird tangent, a weird way to start a week.
Thanks, Corey.
But that saying is always has always confused me that somehow in the 70s people were like, well, that's kind of a clever little thing to say. Let's go with don't drink the Kool-Aid, even though like 900 people died drinking, something similar to Kool-Aid. Anyway, read a history book, kids.
Yeah. I don't even know how I segue from that. Should I go from drink to talking about delicious food?
Let's hear. I want some Kool-Aid. Let's get it.
Well, the Kool-Aid came from being at the Lift for Life event this past Saturday, in which Florida State, it was like a voluntary workout, and they do various exercises, workouts, what have you, and they get sponsored by people and they get money for it, and the money ends up going to uplifting athletes, which brings attention to childhood rare diseases. So it was a very good event on Saturday. There's a lot of things I saw that made me feel good. And somebody actually at the event came up to me and wanted to give a shout out to the program. They said that they appreciated us broaching the subject of race on the podcast, which I promptly then told them, all right, cool, we'll probably never do that again. And by probably, I mean we'll never do it again. But what he wanted to really talk to me about was Zaxby's. Seriously.
Okay.
So apparently there's a very popular menu item, the Big Zax Snack, which incorporates the delicious chicken fingers at Zaxby's, my favorite. Maybe your second favorite behind your Cobb salad.
Correct.
Apparently, this Big Zax Snack, it's a very popular item on the menu, but there's a kind of like a quasi hack, I guess you could say. He's like, I have a life hack for Zaxby's, he told me. What you do apparently is you order the chicken finger plate, which is a delicious option. It has the delicious chicken fingers. You get the Zax sauce. You get crinkle fries, Texas toast, coleslaw. You also get a 22-ounce soda on the freestyle machine. You can pick whatever flavor you want. But the thing here is you sub out the coleslaw for an additional piece of Texas toast, and now you pretty much have two Zax Snacks in one menu item for a little bit of a fraction of the cost. So you and your buddy, if you're on that college budget, like, hey, you guys, hey, man, I'm kind of low on funds. Just split the chicken finger plate with your friend, sub out the coleslaw, this guy tells me, get the extra piece of Texas toast, and then boom, you both have practically a full meal at a fraction of the cost. I don't know if the home office is going to go on board for that, but I thought it was kind of cool that somebody is that pumped about Zaxby's to come talk to me during a football event.
And have a hack that he uses on the reg. And I would say this, though. I like coleslaw.
I do,
now,
too.
Look,
I love
Texas toast is the truth.
Uh-huh.
Legitimately, the Texas toast is awesome. It's just really good. But I don't know, man. I feel like I don't want to dismiss the coleslaw.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, I like I don't want to be too dismissive of the coleslaw. Coleslaw's good.
I love coleslaw. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't do it. But sometimes if you find yourself on hard times out there, kids, you can use the promo code, or email us, support@warchant, from your student email address. We'll give you the promo code. And then even Zaxby's has got a little workaround. So we're giving you the knowledge. Choose how to use it. Whatever you order at Zaxby's, you won't be disappointed. I can tell you that much.
Right.
Corey.
And they don't have Flavor Aid.
They don't have Flavor Aid. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. So this is all going to kind of segue, and, with me, I never steer the ship right. I'm always just kind of a whirling dervish. But that event on Saturday, I saw some pretty cool things. We're going to talk about the top 5. The final installment of the top 40 is going to drop later today on warchant.com. It factors in Ira, Gene, Jeff Cameron, and Corey's top 5, but we'll have Corey share his top 5. I would put this guy in my top 5 right now. After Saturday, there's something I saw, and it's crazy. I understand it's crazy. I'm all in on Keyshawn Helton. I am all in on Keyshawn Helton. I think he is going to be the number 2 receiver behind Tamorrion Terry. And to my somewhat of this weird hot take point, man, I might put Keyshawn Helton in my top 5. I know that sounds crazy, but I think what's going to turn this whole season around this year is the offense. So, if he's going to be your second leading receiver in what should be a pretty potent passing attack, then maybe that could get him in the top 5. Just to see the way he competed, which I know is such a esoteric, cliche, nonsense thing that nobody wants to hear about. But just like his agility, his desire, he's kind of like a little bit of I don't know if he's the heartbeat of the team or like the mascot. I know that almost sounds a little bit patronizing, but he is composed of what you want to get this thing turned around. So that was like the one thing I saw. I'm like, dude, I do believe in the kid, and I'm not worried about his my whole thing was I wasn't worried about his durability. I was just, can he stay focused and not get discouraged if he keeps getting knocked around the line of scrimmage in a really tough sort of game? I don't think he's got that quit in him. Just to see the way he competed at this random Saturday, and it was for a great cause and everything, but it was Saturday, it was voluntary, no one was keeping score, but the way that he was out there just going nuts on every single event, the kid was just playing with his hair on fire. I'm all in on Keyshawn Helton. I'm all in on him. And just to see James Blackman out there, and I think we underestimate I think we're walking the fine line because we realize there's some things in his game that aren't probably going to be fixed overnight in terms of accuracy, intermediate throws of that nature. But there's something to be said about when like that kid is your leader, it just lifts, there's just this good sort of happy, bubbly vibe around the team, it feels like, when that's the dude that's going to lead your offense. And what you're hoping is going to be a renaissance. So just to see the way he led, the feeling around that event, because he's the kind of guy that's just running around and cheering everybody on. You see a guy like Keyshawn Helton who's going to emerge, hopefully, as a legitimate, viable option in the passing game. I'm feeling it, Corey. I'm feeling it. And if a couple guys on defense just kind of go and play out of their mind, why not dream a little dream? Why not try to get to 10 wins? Why not?
Well, hey, man. Hey, get to 12 wins. Why stop at 10?
You're right.
I mean, if Keyshawn's rolling a tire around the IPF, I don't see how they don't go undefeated. I'm just kidding. Just poking fun. Yeah, man. Again, I get it. Those two guys, especially the two guys you mentioned, are guys that they're always, to me, impressive. They're impressive to talk to. They're impressive to watch them practice. They're impressive to watch them interact with their teammates. If they have a whole bunch of those types of guys, and I know that's a cliche, but it's the truth, man. Now, look, you can't win a championship on a bunch of 3-stars. But guys that have 3-star mentality, like Keyshawn Helton is the perfect 3-star. Like he was slept on, but he's better than his rating coming out of high school. But he also has this enormous bag of chips on his shoulder that is never, in my opinion, going to go away, because I think he's always been that guy that's always been discounted and dismissed. So having a few of those guys on a roster is a huge deal, in my opinion. You also need the Marvin Wilsons of the world too, though. But yeah, man, I get it. I can understand why you'd be excited from that. And there is a chance, man. Like when I was doing my rankings, I don't remember where I had him. He wasn't all that high, but But I do think Keyshawn might be a guy that catches 70 balls. Legitimately, he might be a guy in the next year or two that has a 70-catch season.
It was a pleasant sort of thing to see. Again, I mean, I think he can emerge as a weapon that's going to, I think maybe we're undervaluing it right now. But, seeing him, the way he moved through everything, seeing the way that Amari Gaynor ran through the drills was super impressive to me. And listen, I know it's not a lot of it was football-related stuff, but just to see the speed, the agility, just the ability to cut sharply, change of direction, things that I think would translate to some degree in playing football. I thought Leonard Warner, actually, who's a guy that I've never really been all that high on, I thought he actually looked quite well going through the drills as well. It was cool to see that. Just there were so many guys that were out there, which was also a good thing. Just it was a Saturday. They didn't have to do that. I mean, 10 guys could have showed up, 12 guys could have showed up, 20 guys could have showed up, but it had to have been over 50 guys out there. I feel like they had 8 teams, and it was a really nice little event. I wish we could see more of these sort of things, but we'll take it when we can, and that's not me complaining. Now to the top 5. I guess let's segue. I don't have a say-so in the top 5. You do. For some reason, yours aren't weighted more than Ira's, but I digress. So as we unveil the top 5, what was to you, what are the differentiating factors in now that we're in the top 5? Is you mentioned there's not a big deal between 29 and 32. Is there a big difference in your mind between 1 and 3 or 3 and 5? Are these all pretty closely packed, or do you have a guy that's just far and away undoubtedly going to be the most important person to the team this year?
I mean, I do, but that's just because I take the easy route, the easy way out, and I just go with the starting quarterback, the guy that I think is going to be the starting quarterback, because I think that's the most important position, especially with an offense that was so abysmal a season ago, and you're paying all this money to an offensive coordinator. You got to hope that the offense clicks, and I think the quarterback has more to do with that, obviously, than anybody else on the field. And if they're going to have a good season, the offense has to take a huge step up. So, yeah, that's why I went with Blackman number 1. But, yeah, man, after that, from 2 to 9 or 2 to 10, I kind of just went with the best players, who I thought were the best players at their particular positions. So, obviously, should I go down them one by one? What do you want me to do, Aslan? You're driving the ship.
I want to talk about James Blackman, the way that people talk about him. And we'll go to just go. No, don't rattle it off. But let's start there, because you're already. I mean, he's the number 1 guy you have on your list. I wouldn't put him at number 1. I think he's going to be extremely important to the cause. But there's such a weird judgment that's already been cast on him because of the way he performed in 2017. And I know it looked really bad at times, but I don't know if I can talk about it, because maybe I'm going to come off as hypocritical. But if you're one of the many Florida State fans that obviously dislikes Jimbo Fisher because of the way he left the program and the fact that he checked out on the team, midway through a season, how come a kid that's 18 years old that had no business starting, but, rallied the team and put him in position to win a couple games that ultimately didn't go their way? Now, you can say, Louisville, he fumbled. That's on him. I thought he kind of played pretty decent, I think, in the second half, maybe against NC State. But there were times that he had some really good flashes. And then as the season closed out, obviously not the teeth of the schedule any longer, but the way he looked against Florida, Monroe, and then the bowl game against Southern Miss, and then you kind of tack on the way he looked against NC State. And I don't want to put too much expectations on him, because I know the second he throws a pick, everyone's going to be like, well, it's all, here we go, back to the same sort of stuff. It's like people remember the interception against Clemson and the fumble against Louisville and are going to hold that over his head until he goes and throws for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns against Miami, I feel like. And that's not fair. I feel like with the way that Kendall's offense seems to always produce no matter who's at quarterback, and you have a kid who seems really conscientious about doing the right thing as a leader and has a good rapport with the top offensive target out wide in Tamori and Terry, like, why not think that he can make a pretty good jump? And yeah, if he can't hit a 10-yard comeback, like if his digs aren't going on the inside shoulder 10 out of 10 times, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Now there will be some if he can't make the easy throws, and he has struggled. Again, it was 2 years ago, really. Although there was some throws in the spring game, even where you're like, man, you got to make that throw. Like you've got to. Terry, that's a walk-in touchdown. You can't overthrow him, or you can't sail it over his head by 6 feet on a throw in the middle of the field or a comeback. There are some things mechanically that he's still not great at. He might not ever be great at. But, Florida State's had a lot of just pretty good quarterbacks through the years. You can win with those guys, especially if everybody likes them. And I mean the teammates. If the teammates play hard for him, and if the receivers go make plays for him, or the linemen block for him, all that good stuff. But I will say what intrigues me about him is he is such a hard worker. He is such a good teammate. And what I don't understand when it comes to him specifically, and I know we'll get it some this year, is, okay, say he struggles for a quarter or two, whether it's against Boise or if he's not very good in the first half against Virginia. Okay, are there going to really be a bunch of Florida State fans that are clamoring for Alex Hornibrook?
Absolutely.
I'm right, but have they watched him play? Now, again, I guess we can't judge Alex Hornibrook as a Florida State quarterback on what he did at his previous stop, I guess. But, man, that guy, he's had a lot of plays in his career where you're like, oh, man, what was that? What was that? Just in the 4 or 5 games I watched him play, sometimes he would make some throws that you just shake your head, just like Blackman did. But Blackman was a true freshman playing for Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah.
I just think he's your best option. And I think there's a chance he could be your best option by a pretty decent margin. So you're going to learn, you got to live with mistakes. Marvin Wilson doesn't win every play. Some quarterbacks lose plays. They make bad decisions. As Jimbo said all the time, they have to make a decision on every play. You can't be perfect. No quarterback is perfect on every decision he makes in a game because he has to make like 50 of them. So you just hope he can my opinion, for Florida State to be good to really good in 2020, James Blackman will have to be the quarterback. And if this year is a year for him to take some more baby steps and some more progress, then live with it. But he also has a chance to be darn good. The best game a quarterback played for Florida State last year was the one he played by a substantial margin. He almost threw for 500 yards if they wouldn't have called like a 50-yard pass to Terry back for some nonsense that I can't even remember now because I try to erase that game against NC State from my memory. But, man, that guy has a chance to be a solid to good quarterback. Let's see what he is. And it's not just 3 quarters again in Jacksonville against Boise or 3 games. Like, let's see what this guy is in this system with these weapons, because I do think he has good skill players. And let's see. But I do think that it hinges on him. If he's not very good, if he's just average, if Florida State's quarterback play doesn't improve dramatically from last season, then I don't know what's the ceiling for this team. Not great.
Yeah.
8 wins, maybe 7 wins. So that's why I think he's so important. I think he has a chance in this offense if he really grasps it. And obviously he's an intelligent kid. I mean, grasp it because it's new. If he can really grasp it and make mostly right decisions in the easy throws, the simple throws, and throw it up to 15 9 times a game, that's a huge deal. And that could get them to 35 points a game or 33 points a game, and maybe that gets them to 9 wins. That's why I think he's the most important guy. If you get average to mediocre quarterback play, there's only so good this season can be. All right, and I think he has a chance to be a good quarterback. Yeah. He's not Winston. He's not an NFL first-round pick, but I think he has a chance to be a pretty good college quarterback.
If anyone's going to, make the baby steps into, grown man steps, I think, Kendall Briles in this offense should be able to put him over. And then obviously, again, Terry, that weapon, DJ Matthews, Keyshawn Helton, what we're going to hope is going to be an improved run game. These things all factor into setting him up hopefully for success this year. So who's behind him then? So who's number 2?
Okay, yeah. So he's my most important, the most important player.
What is your? I know the criteria is kind of like potential plus opportunity plus, projected impact. Like what were you using as your sort of rubric or?
I think
formula?
Just most impactful. Like okay. So number 2, I have number 2 Marvin Wilson, who is, I think we both agree, probably the best player on the team.
Probably.
But the impact he will make will not show up like a Terry or a Blackman, because he's not going to put up enormous numbers because defensive tackles don't do that.
Right.
But he will constantly demand a double team, and that should free up his teammates to make plays. That's a huge impact that he will have, in my opinion, on this season, especially in a money year. He was at times dominant last season, even on a bad defense. And I just think having that guy that you can plug in the middle of your line that you know is going to be an absolute nightmare for the center and the two guards all game, that frees up your other tackles and your other defensive ends to go make plays. That's an enormous impact. So he's my number 2 because of that. And that's kind of what I went, is just on sheer impact.
Okay.
Who I think will be the most impactful. That's why Blackman is 1 and Wilson is 2.
Who's number 3 then?
Number 15, buddy.
Okay.
Scary Terry, T-time, T-squared, whatever we're calling him. Again, same thing. Obviously, I think, and I know some of it sounds hyperbolic. Some of it is probably hyperbolic. I don't know that I really think he's a cross between Randy Moss and Jerry Rice. But he is an exceptional wide receiver, an exceptionally skilled, gifted wide receiver. And again, I think he's going to put up big numbers because I think he's going to have a guy that wants to throw it to him a lot. But also, I think he is going to constantly draw safeties over the top. Constantly. Mm-hmm. And with that in mind, that should free up the middle of the field for Keyshawn and DJ and Keith Gavin and whoever else Trayshawn Harrison, whoever else they want to throw the ball to. Again, that's the impact that having somebody out wide like Terry gives you. He changes the whole complexion of an offense because they always have to know where he is, and they always have to, I would say always, 90% of the time, they're going to give that cornerback some help. And that's the impact he has. So there you go. That's number 3. Mm-hmm. Number 4, Cam Akers.
Okay.
I think Cam Akers is really good. We got down on him last year, but it was easy to get down on the whole team last year, man. It was just sludge. It was just a slog to watch. It was just hard to watch, all of it. And he didn't have anywhere to run. You know, if any of you guys follow David Hale on Twitter, he will tweet all these statistics about running backs, you know, negative yard runs or 0 yard runs compared to where they got hit first, like where they first got had to avoid a defender. And Cam Akers, by far and away, out of every running back in the country, had to avoid more defenders in the backfield than any other running back in the country last season. And it wasn't close. So again, just take a baby step with that offensive line. Get it from abysmal to just disappointing, or to just average to slightly below average. Cam Akers, I think, is an exceptional talent. I think he's a really, really good running back.
The key to Florida State's success in 2019 was a disappointing offensive line that saw them go from 5 wins to 8 wins. You know, it's like, that's what disappointing is, right? I mean, it's like moving up, like going from abysmal to disappointing. I mean, it's a relative term, obviously, in terms of what people are expecting this year.
Yeah, disappointing I probably shouldn't have used, because if they were disappointing again this season, they would be abysmal again.
Exactly, touche.
Yeah, so average. If they can get to just mediocre, legitimately, I know mediocre and average aren't synonyms. So if they can just get to mediocre, then I think Cam Akers is an 1,100 yard guy. I think he makes play. Remember, he came on at the end of last season a little bit, and he had didn't he have an 80-yard touchdown against Florida?
Yeah. But
it was called back because your senior wide receiver wasn't lined up.
Well, obviously, that's what threw the Gator defense off, was that, you know, he was a step off the line. So
sure, they knew not to even try to tackle him.
Exactly.
They're like, look, this ain't going to count.
Right.
What is this going on here? Why is who's on the line here? Who do I have? So yeah, but he came on at the end of last season for a good bit, and that touchdown he had against Florida. Again, I don't think many of you guys remember it, because the game was just a debacle. But number one, that changes the whole complexion of the game if that stands. But also, it's Cam Akers, man. The guy's a player, a real player, a good player. So he's a big deal. And then my 5th guy is who I think is probably, pound for pound, measurable for measurable, probably the most skilled defensive back they have, Stanford Samuels, who went back and forth kind of between corner and safety, but I think is a legitimate he's an NFL prospect. It's a money year again. I think he showed flashes last year that he can be a pretty darn good player. Now, he also showed flashes where he got beat. I mean, they all did. It was not a fun season. Let me reiterate that. But I think that guy probably, in my opinion, has the most upside of anybody in that secondary. It is a money year. It could be his breakout year. Now, there's a lot of guys vying for playing time, including some freshmen. And Asante Samuel is good. And A.J. Litton, two sophomores, have a chance to play a lot. Akeem Dent, Travis J., all those guys. But I think that's the dude. Lamonte Taylor, I think that's the dude. I think that guy is the best player in that secondary. And, should theoretically be an all-conference, all-American type player. And if he is, that's a huge impact. Am I right, Aslan? Would an all-American DB make a huge impact at Florida State?
You would think so, but then you see all these guys named All-Americans. You're like, I don't even remember that kid having that great of a season last year. But no, certainly that would obviously forebode really good progress on the defensive back end. I think either Samuel's the third or Samuel probably will be your best cornerbacks. Akeem Dent could be kind of like a dark horse. I mean, those are like my top three defensive backs, I'd probably say. Regardless if you're going to be playing corner, Zeus, nickel, whatever they want to call defensive backs in this scheme. I could buy Samuel's the third being your best defensive back. I think I still kind of lean towards Asante Samuel just because I think he's further away from his ceiling than what we potentially or possibly have seen from Samuel's the third the last 2 years. But he was injured. Jeff points that out in the video that you can watch on warchant.com and on YouTube as well. But that's, he was hurt from the jump. I mean, I have video literally of him getting ready for the Virginia Tech game, like on Thursday, and him just, like the trainer looking at him and just, Stanford just shaking his head like, nah, man, this doesn't feel right. Right. And then he kind of had to suck it up and try to play the rest of the season on that. So, I wouldn't put him in my top five, though. I would only put one person in my top five on the defensive side of the ball. I'd go Terry 1, Blackman 2, Akers 3, Marvin Wilson 4th, and Keyshawn Helton number 5.
Of course. Well, I just looked it up. I had Helton at 18.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to take.
That's a pretty significant spot on the team.
I'm take a big jump just because I just don't believe in the defense. Like, I think Marvin can play his tail off and absorb double teams, and he can break through the double teams, and he can get a hand on a running back in the backfield. But if he doesn't tackle the guy, which he'll still get graded at highly for if he penetrates the offensive line and, blows the play up in the backfield, he'll get, high grades on that. But if he doesn't tackle the player, what's to say that the guy at the second level is not going to be getting blocked by the other offensive lineman and the play still lives? So many times you see plays that should have been a tackle for a loss or only a 1-yard gain end up squirting free for like a 4 or 5 yard gain because there's not the help around to nip those things in the bud. So that's sort of my thing. I think he'll play fantastic. I think he'll grade out well. If I have to put chips on anybody to like be the first round pick from this team, I'd probably him. But I just don't know how much of a sort of quote unquote impact or how much he can do on his own. And the reason I would say Keyshawn Helton, and this isn't really all that tongue in cheek, but if this offense is going to perform at the level that the Briles family offenses historically perform at, like there's going to be a second option, a second target receiving wise. It's going to do pretty well. And I don't know if it's going to sort of cannibalize from Tamarian gets, because like he probably is going to get many more double teams. And I don't know how many more times you're going to force it at him or how much of the game plan is going to be like, all right, let them go ahead and double team him, and then we can get guys open in space and get them more involved, and then maybe go back to Terry later on in the ball game. So I think like he's going to be the one that's going to sort of profit the most off of, Terry becoming a household name and a potential first-round pick. Like, I think the passes are going to go his direction. So why not? If this offense is going to be better, why wouldn't the number 2 receiver have a potential to crack the top 5? Because I don't think an offensive lineman will, right? I don't think a tight end's going to. I already have Cam in there. I already have a quarterback in there. I already have the number 1 receiver in there. I just don't know if anybody else on the defense is going to play that amazing to where you'll be like, they were one of the most important people on the entire team in the turnaround. But then again, comes to me.
Guess what, buddy? You didn't get to do a list.
I didn't, but I got 5 minutes to talk about it.
Nobody cares.
You're right. Unfortunately, you are correct. One thing I did want to mention before we wrap up the show, we're going to have, again, Michael Langston on here in a minute to talk about Manny Rogers, the latest commitment to Florida State's 2020 recruiting class, a defensive tackle out of Jensen Beach High School. That was good. They need that. Defensive linemen are in dire need. My whole thing about this defense, right, and a lot of the sort of, I don't know, the standard defense for this defense was that they just had no shot. They were given no chance to succeed because the offense was so bad. They were always playing from behind. It's hard to go out there and give it 100% for 60 minutes when you know that the offense isn't going to move the ball, et cetera, et cetera. So I did a terrible research project, which, I sit here and I pat myself on the back and think that I'm going to have some sort of good insight, and then I hope that you can find the insight in it, but then you just laugh at me usually. So I went back and looked at the first 5 drives of every game. Like, why 5? I don't know, because I didn't want to look at 10. 3 might be too small of a number. So look at the first 5 drives the defense had in each game last season. 7 of those games, they allowed 2 or more scores on the first 5 drives. So, to me, that debunks the whole, they played really hard, but then, they kept the Wolves at the gate for as long as they could, but it's only natural that, in the end, they valiantly went out on their sword. When, that wasn't the case at all. There's only 2 games where they didn't allow any scores in the first 5 drives to the opposing offense. One was Boston College. Do you dare guess what the other one was, Corey?
Miami?
That's a good one. I thought that would be it as well, but Miami actually scored a touchdown on their 3rd drive, I think. Okay. They scored on one of their first 5 drives, I know that. But it was Clemson. Clemson, they did, and that's the one game where you can say the defense truly did come out and play really hard, and then
what was the point?
Exactly, right? But then Asante Samuel tries to block the field goal and gets a roughing the kicker, and then that kind of, put them behind the 8 ball the rest of the way. But Virginia Tech, 2 out of the first 5 drives. Samford, 3 out of the first 5 drives. Syracuse, Northern Illinois, Miami had 1 apiece. Louisville had 3. They had 3 touchdowns in a row. North Carolina State, 4 out of their first 5 drives went for scores. Notre Dame scored on all 5 of their first possessions. Florida, 2 out of their 5. So that to me is, and if this offense performs well, Corey, obviously you're going to be in a different mindset, but they're going to be back on the field really quickly. I guess, it's always going to feel a little bit different when you're up 14-0 as opposed to going back out there and you're down 14-0. But it's not like you can say, well, they got gas. Well, if they got gas, the same principle is going to be in play this year if the offense does well, because you're hoping they're going to score often, they're going to score fast, you're going to have to get back out there and get some stops. It just seems like no matter where the Browse family has been, and they haven't played in any defensive-minded conferences, it's been the Big 12, it's been Conference USA, and then it's been the American Conference, or the Athletic, what is it, AAC, the American Athletic Conference?
Sure,
whatever the one is with
right.
Houston and UConn and USF. Those games are always wide open. They're always 35-31, 38-29, 42 to 38 sort of point games. And I just don't think that you're going to marry. This is not going to work out best case to where Browse is going to bring his offense, Harlan Barnett's going to have Big Ten hard-nosed defense, and Florida State's going to go out there and roll and win games 45-10. They're going to be back and forth games, and I don't think the defense is going to make any huge stride to shore things up. They'll be better. I'm sure they'll be improved. These guys that need to have really good seasons to further their life in football are going to probably play better, but there's still so many holes. They're a man down coaching on that side of the ball. They're trying to implement something new, but it's not that new, or is it? They tried to make everything as simple as they could last year, so what does it say that they're going to try to make it more it's just, there's so many question marks on that side of the ball that it still, leaves me a little bit suspect of what can happen there. But I did look that up.
I'll be honest. I thought you led the show by talking about how you were going to be the optimistic guy.
Yeah, I was. Keyshawn Helton, man. The offense is going to be good.
You really, I don't. Oh, it was just about that in general, just the one person.
No, I thought the offense
wasn't
was
about
going to be
how
good.
you felt about the season.
No, I feel good about the season today right now.
I didn't sound like it. Sounded like the last 6 minutes or so where your true colors coming out about what you feel about this actual season.
I still think the defense is going to be good. I like the offense.
No, and to be frank, the defense. I mean, look, nobody. I think it matters maybe more than you're letting on about knowing your offense is terrible. But there was no excuse for the defense to be as bad as it was, and it was awful. I mean, there were games where they just were terrible, like the NC State and Notre Dame games, and the Clemson game. The final 3 quarters were a complete embarrassment. 3 of the more embarrassing games Florida State football has ever had from a defensive perspective. Just completely gave up, had no chance to stop the vaunted NC State offense. No chance. Notre Dame could have played their starting quarterback, knew they didn't need to because they were just going to mash it down Florida State's throat. All that is granted. But it does, I mean, getting down 10, it's not like they started off well in some of those games. I'm not saying they played great the whole game against Syracuse. But there was a stretch there where Syracuse wasn't doing anything either, and it just did not matter. So late in the third quarter, all of a sudden they're breaking 40-yard runs because Francois can't even breathe. Like there was just – I do think that plays into it some. The 3-and-outs, always going backwards and punting from your 7 so that the other team gets the ball at your 48. I mean, all that stuff is contextual, and it does matter. But, yeah, the defense was bad last year. It needs to take a step up, too. I mean, I just think we think that the offense is maybe because it does have the skill guys. It does have guys that we think will be playing on Sundays.
All the coaching is different. The guy that called the plays last year is not calling the plays. The guy who coached the offensive line is not coaching.
There's more excitement, right? There's more hope.
Yes.
For what we're going to see on offense.
And I don't even know if it's hope. There's documented evidence. I really think I think James Blackman, what we saw the last 3 games of 2017
I'm with you.
is more of the quarterback he is than he was against Louisville or NC State. I think the one game that we saw last year against NC State, obviously he played quite well. Why not feel good about that being a step up? I think if you want to talk about the esoteric psychological sort of aspects of things, I think him being your quarterback is more of a lift than any other single sort of factor that people are talking about. But for some reason, he's still being penalized for fumbling against Louisville and throwing an interception against Clemson, trying to win the game in one play in the fourth quarter, Death Valley against the eventual national, semifinalists that season. It's just kind of a bizarre thing that people kind of keep talking about. It's documented. And obviously the Briles, him just being successful anywhere he's gone, and Randy Clements has usually been the guy there with him. Like those things are tangible. I mean, hope to me feels like a flimsy sort of, just hang on to something. Like, we really don't have much to offer, but just be optimistic for the sake of it, because that's what it's all about being a fan. There's like real tangible things and reasons.
Hey man, Andy Dufresne held on to hope.
He did. That's right.
When he was in Shawshank Prison for 3 decades, that's what got him through it. Was hope. Don't say that that's flimsy. That's what got him to Sewanamayu or wherever the heck he ended up on that beach, shaving that boat. That's what Andy Dufresne did, and that got read there. So hope is powerful. Hope is strong. Don't dismiss hope.
Together. Okay, you're right. All right, I'll go ahead and delete out the last 5 minutes of the show. All right, we will be back on Thursday? Yeah, Thursday, because we will be on the road Tuesday to Charlotte. Wednesday we'll be working. We'll obviously do the show on Wednesday, and then we'll turn around and drop something for you folks on Thursday. Depending on how that goes, there will be shows following that for next week, but we won't be recording a show together. Corey again's going to Paris or
Cleveland.
Okay.
Cleveland. It's the Paris of Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a much deserved sort of respite for the big guy out there. But we will be back on Thursday. I don't think we'll do Renegade Express. We'll have enough going on over there. And hopefully we get a whole bunch of good interviews. We'll put all that stuff together, and we'll keep giving you more shows. We'll keep you updated.
Brady Clark will be there too, so we can get Ira will be there. We can get Ira and Brady on the show if we need to.
Okay. I like it. Maybe I'll have a surprise show Wednesday with Ira and myself in the car driving up.
There you go.
No.
There you go. That'll get a lot of listens.
What will get a lot of listens?
Ira snoring in the passenger seat.
All right, Michael Langston, recruiting update coming up right now. As promised, here he is. Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for warchant.com, joining us here on Wake Up War Chant presented by Zaxby's. Michael, how are you, friend?
I'm fantastic. Fantastic.
If you're fantastic, we're all doing well.
Okay.
So apparently Florida State's not stopping here. They continue to recruit guys, as best as they can. Filling needs, I think, is probably one of the more important takeaways from Friday's news of Manny Rogers out of Jensen Beach High School committing to Florida State. Rivals.com has him listed at 6'6", 300 pounds. He is a 3-star. They have him listed as offensive tackle, but he's going to be coming in to play defensive tackle, correct? Or on the
That
interior?
is correct. I'm working on getting that fixed. He had started his career as offensive tackle, but he also played defensive tackle too. So he played both positions, but they just haven't adjusted his position. But we'll get that fixed soon. But this is a very high-level pick for FSU because this is a guy that they have targeted probably for, I would say, at least 4 months. I mean, this is a guy they've wanted really bad. And every time, even when these other guys that didn't end up at FSU, this guy was the name that was brought up to me, even when those guys were still in the picture, that he was one of the highest rated or highest ranked defensive tackles on the FSU board. I mean, Odell wanted this kid bad, and they got it done and got him in the fold. He's a very athletic. He's 6'6", 305. This kid can he moves really well laterally. He does a lot of things alike. I mean, he's fast. He closes well. His motor's really good. Obviously, technique-wise, there's still some things you got to clean up, like hand placement and adding more moves to his repertoire as far as how he pass rushes. But you cannot teach quickness, athletic ability, and intensity. How this guy brings it. I mean, he finishes with a thunder, and he's a guy that certainly the staff loves.
Michael, he's got kind of a unique story, I guess. He might not have as much film out there as most kids. Just how kind of crazy it is for him, I guess, he's only played football for 1 year?
Yeah, he's played for 1 year. He only played for 1 year. He actually started off playing basketball, and then he got into football and got out there and hitting, and he's like, hey, I like this hitting stuff. I like hitting people, and learned some technique. Caught on really quick. Finished the season like 45 tackles and 8 sacks and 21 tackles for loss. I mean, this kid picked it up fast. And they're not talking about sorry teams here. I mean, he's playing teams like Cocoa and teams like that on the schedule. So, he's playing against some really, probably solid competition as far as what you're going against. So he's not doing this against the Sisters of the Poor. And this kid just really caught on quick. And I think the reason why you haven't seen much as far as he's a 3-star now, but I don't think that's going to last because, I mean, once people see this kid and see, how he's developed and how he just gets better and better and just how incredibly athletic this kid is for a defensive tackle. And he is very twitchy. He changes direction is really good for a guy that size. And I think when more people get a viewpoint of this guy, I think you're going to see a lot more even excitement more than what we already see now. So I think he's going to be a 4-star prospect. I don't know where I would put him as far as where, like Rivals 250 or whatnot, but I think he's going to be a 4-star, and I would think he has a pretty solid shot at getting in the Rivals 250. On my personal opinion, just stuff I've seen and people I trust that have scouted this kid and the stuff they've told me about this kid. I think Rivals 250 is certainly wouldn't be a shocker to see him end up in that range.
Michael, in your opinion, is this kind of the byproduct of the fact that Willie and this staff are really focusing on Georgia and Florida? Because it feels like in years past, if you weren't from Jacksonville or if you weren't from the South Florida area and you weren't an absolutely top shelf 5-star kind of guy, Florida State really didn't go after you. But with them concentrating so much on kids in the state of Florida, which is such a talent-rich state, do you think that's leading them to beat down doors at places like Jensen Beach, which you really usually don't find or hear of big-time talent, but they're mining and going after kids in-state, and they're stumbling upon, I guess, in some way, maybe a diamond in the rough like a Manny Rogers?
Well, hey, Lamar Jackson was from Jensen Beach.
Oh, was he?
Gotta give him a little love there for Jensen Beach. But no, I mean, in some cases, I would say, you could say that maybe for the kid that they got from IMG Academy, the offensive lineman, the Alex Akavich kid, I think you could say like, hey, we really want to keep the in-state. But this is a kid that is one of their major targets. I mean, this is a guy that they've targeted from the start. So whether he was in Florida or Georgia, it wouldn't have mattered. But to your point, I do think that's a big thing to them. I've always heard before the season started that they really wanted to focus on, controlling Florida and also controlling Georgia. They wanted to keep that. Those are, Florida, obviously you want to control the state, and then Georgia, they kind of look at that as an extension to Florida. So I think they really want to hit those places hard. But I don't think this recruitment particularly is a reason for them, for that, focus on the state, because I think this is a guy that I've heard a lot. This isn't the first time I've heard his name. I mean, he was a guy that not a lot of people knew about. And then I think FSU had caught wind of his film, and then Odell went to see him in action in the spring and watching the spring game. And I think once Odell watched him, he's like, I got to have this kid. I mean, they pushed hard for this kid. So I think overall your point's correct that they do want to really get the majority of their class from the state of Florida and state of Georgia. But in this kid's situation, I think he's a major guy they wanted regardless.
Lamar Jackson went to Boynton Beach High School.
No.
I think it's cool, man. And there's so many things that obviously are different between Willie and Jimbo, and I think part of it is Willie and the staff they evaluate kids differently, which isn't a shocker. I mean, they're different guys, and then I don't know if they value different things, but just the fact that Willie and this staff seems to just they look at a kid and they're like, this guy can play football, which I know sounds cliche, but they're not worried too much about certain size, speed ratios and things like that. It's like they look at the tape, they go and look at the kid, and then they feel good about it, and they pull the trigger, and then they're able to land a kid like this that Michael's pointing out right now is likely going to move from a 3-star up to a 4-star. Manny Rogers, the latest commitment for Florida State. All the breaking news on Florida State's recruiting is over on the premium recruiting board on warchant.com. Michael never sleeps. He pretends he does, but he's just,
I pretend I do? Oh, man. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll roll with that. I can get down with that.
We got to get you some time off here. But 2 weeks from now, Saturday Night Live will be going down at Doe Campbell for the latest on that and its developments. Again, check out Michael's work on warchant.com. Michael, thanks for your time, bud. I appreciate it.
Anytime, my man.
Awesome, man. For Michael, for Corey, I'm Aslan. Thanks for listening to Wake Up War Chant. We'll catch up with you all on Thursday.
The universe is a big place, so you should feel especially lucky you ended up on the same planet with Zaxby's. And right now, we're cooking up our special Cajun Spice Blackened Chicken for our Cajun Club Sandwich and Black and Blue Salad. It's an intergalactically delicious taste experience, and you don't have to travel light years to get it. The Cajun Club Sandwich and Black and Blue Salad, only at Zaxby's.